Hey, Limmy lad, get on the Happy Hour podcast. I'm not going to anybody's podcast. What would I talk about? There's nothing to talk about. Ender says, you went on Buxton's? Did I? You went on Blind Boys. I know, but we talked about weird stuff, as in good. Like, fucking, I don't know what the fuck we talked about, actually. And I've been on, Richard Herring's one twice and everything, but what else is there to talk about? What's there to talk about? I'm alright talking about fucking Monopoly. Scroobius Pip, of course, but the thing is, with that one, that was like at the time of, I don't know, one of my books coming out, or the first one, or something like that. And so it was a time to talk about fucking, maybe, I can't remember what I spoke about in that, right? But how I got there, and who I am, and first I did this, and then I did that, and that type of thing. And then probably something about fucking mental health, and something to do with alcoholism, or whatever the fuck it was. I don't think I would know what to... Like, imagine I went on a podcast. It's one of these ones, like that one that was mentioned there. I don't know what that is, right? But just anything, right? Just any podcast at all. So, remind people, if anybody's been living under a rock, remind people tell people who you are, how you sort of got to this, your journey gets. Oh, fuck, there, I need to. So what is it you do now? Streaming. I don't really watch these streams. What is it you do in the streams? Play games and kind of talk a lot of shit. I think inevitably this is what would happen. So I was watching some of your old stuff and listening to some of your old stuff. A podcast that you used to do, Limmy's one of the early podcasters. That's kind of how you got where you are. And some of the stuff on that, and some of the other stuff you've done, some of the sketches and all that, it doesn't seem like the sort of stuff you get away with. Don't fucking start this shite. It doesn't seem like the sort of stuff you would get away with these days. What's your opinion on that? What's your opinion on that? Your cancel culture? What's your opinion on that? Because we want to get this on a fucking TikTok thing with that and get that fucking clipped and shipped. What's your opinion on that? Limmy, we have got a tweet ready to fucking go. We've got a template. Limmy slams and blasts cancel culture. We've already got a quote saying, you can't get away with anything these days. We've got that in a quote. All we need is for you to say it, and it's out there. We've got it all ready to go. Please. Our podcast viewers, the viewership's hovering about here. If you just say that, honestly, it'll bump us up to there. Could you please slam and blast cancel culture? Could you please say something about when you can't get away with it these days? You can't breathe. It would only be a matter of time. It would be this. Talk about the drinking, when I used to drink and why I stopped. Talk about mental health. Talk about how you got into doing the comedy stuff and all the rest of it. Talk about what you do now. And then maybe just general comedy things like how do you come up with ideas and all that, when you used to come up with ideas. Other than that, it would be like, what do you think of what's going on in the world? Wouldn't it? It'd be something like that. What do you think what's going on right now? And it'd be some sort of political thing or some sort of issue or some sort of debate or something going on. I'd be like, no, I can't be fucked talking about that. The way I talk about that. But I don't speak like that. I don't go like that. Don't want to talk about that. I'd think it. But just like, just I don't want to get into all that. And then you get fucking slammed for every fucking angle. No, I don't want to talk about that either. That's not something I'm interested in talking about. I don't really know anything about that, so I'm not going to talk about that. That's not something. That's not my area of expertise. I don't really know it. Surely must have an opinion though. No, really, no. Well, why if you come on, Limmy, if you're not going to talk? Because your questions are shite. Well, what is it you want to talk about? I don't know, like Ableton or something? Anybody know anything about make music or I don't know. I'd be interested in talking about suicidal thoughts and fantasies and stuff like that. That'd be a giggle. That would be good. I'd like to say, presenter, when's the last time you wanted to top yourself? Now that would be fucking good. Would go all the way around the table. I'd go like that. When's the last time you wanted to top yourself? And I mean seriously. And how did you visualise yourself doing it? We really shouldn't talk about that. We'll put a fucking notice up or something like that, right? But it's happening. Because that really fucking... I'd really get a kick out of that. I love stuff like that because it's fucking interesting. I love stuff like that. They kind of topics. I talk about fucking... I love... stuff like that. It gives me a giggle because I've done it. I've tanned my fucking wrist. I've cut myself up and all that. And I see it. I don't do it anymore, but I see it all with a kind of sense of humour. I see it with a sense of humour these days. But and maybe it's a sense of humour. I've got a sense of humour because it's the sort of thing maybe you're not meant to have a sense of humour about. But I've got a sense of humour about it. And I don't know. But also like daft wee things. Like if somebody was to say, if somebody was to say, I've got a question for you. What's the sort of cheapest sort of thing you've got, but it's still quite good, but it's like a kind of cheaper? Oh, my controller. My controller. You know what I mean? Like, on this a podcast, like... What if the stuff that I find funny is bad stuff? I don't mean necessarily bad things happen to other people, but the bad things in life. When just due to the slightest amount of stress that came along at just the wrong time, you're seriously considering topping yourself. You've been alright for like 6 fucking months. And then some tiny wee bit of stress comes along. And you're like, you know what? Fuck this. Is that not hilarious? I think it's very helpful to talk about things like that. Because then if you hear other people talk about that, then when you get their thoughts, you're like, that reminds me of that time they were talking about that. It's actually quite funny how you're ready to chuck the whole fucking thing away permanently because you got annoyed. But not just that, just but I do like talking about wee trivial things as well, but yeah, there's no getting around it. It's a bit of fucking pain in the arse having to be, you know, you're chatting with somebody and they say something that isn't interesting and you have to pretend to be interested, or you're talking and you're not sure if what you're saying is that interesting to them, and you know, it's all that. It's just, no, just rather no. I would rather not. Sorry when you're with a known like-minded sort of person, but a lot of times you might not be.